Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and in today's little dev update we are going to talk about campaign, because that is something that we are now in the patch notes mentioning a lot, but nothing comes to you. So it's kind of a warranted question. What is going on with campaign? And there is a lot to talk about. So I think we get started right away. So overall what is happening is, oh, there you see, new artwork. This is the not sketch version of it. Looking good, isn't it? Anyway, the main things that are going on is there are more changes, significant changes, being made to campaign to flesh it out some more. It is probably one of the most criticized parts of the game, and, well, that needs to change. In the long run, it will definitely change because that is part of our plans, but also in the short run for the Rilma update, we do have a few more things that we would like to add so that things are feeling a bit more tycoony and fleshed out. It is Spreadsheet Simulator Supreme after all, but we can make it a little better. And to lay the foundations for making it better, we do want to implement a few more mechanics here and there to streamline the UI flow a little bit better so that you have a better time while we wait for the next big update that will be the Terso update. And we are now in the process of implementing quite a few new features for this campaign. And you see the bottom layout here is continuing to change since the last little dev update where I showed off some of the new campaign features, like the regulations and so on. But today what we're going to look at is, well, headquarters is one big thing. And first, let's go into something familiar that is also going to change. The flow, the UI flow. So, one of the main confusing things that we have in a campaign is that you have to dig quite deep into a UI tree in order to set up your factories. Basically what would happen is that you design your car and then you set up your engineering and then you go to your factory and set that up. That's fine, still fine. But then when you get to the engine factories, you first have to go into the engine project, then from there you go to the factories, then that gets you into the individual factories, so now you're 2 layers deep, and there you set things up, and once you're done with setting up one factory, you jump back to the factory manager in the engine, and it's quite the thing. And that is, of course, not very intuitive, even though it's quite necessary. And what we are attempting to do here, as you see in this new UI layout, is that we are providing you with a bit flatter structure overall in terms of depth for UI depth. So the ordering right now is that you do your normal project management, you do set up your cars the way you want. And then you do car engineering, same as always. Then you do engine engineering, pretty much the same as always. And then you set up your car factories. So new UI here. You can choose to either build a new factory or use an existing one. And then you go into that normally, and that's all still the same for existing factories. You just set them up. You can now, and that is one of the big changes that we need to talk about. I don't think I mentioned that before, did I? Oh wow, okay, no, I didn't. Okay, here, big change coming. That one was made, I think, shortly after the last little dev update. You can now choose to produce cars across facelifts in the same factory. You can even choose to not produce any of the new ones if you wish to. Of course, that was possible before as well. But you can now, if you have still a big stack of pre-orders for the old one, you can just put that in there too and continue producing. So this new UI allows you to do exactly that. This is the same thing for engines. So you can produce old engines alongside the newest facelift. Basically, the facelift restrictions for production have been completely removed. But let's head back out here to the main timeline again. So we've just looked at setting up a factory for the car production of various trims, and now you see that we would next go on to engine production, but you see down there in the tooltip that it says which engine family we're talking about. And yes, that means that more tabs are going to be spawned in here for each engine family that you are going to use. And down in the bottom part, you get a nice overview of which cars that specific family is being used for. And if there are more variants of that engine, they are being listed down here as well. There's a scroll bar here so that if you have a really complex setup, you can still see everything. Not at the same time, mind you, but overall. It tells you which cars they are being used in. And overall, this is way more of a good overview, keeps you a nice map of what is going on. Of course, for the engines, you can choose to either outsource or build a new factory. And yeah, this is pretty much the same thing as before. But also, it gives you a nice direct overview for the ones that that are relevant to you, telling you which ones are actually being produced, tooled for, and then, well, it tells you the different facelifts and variants that are being assigned to that factory specifically, so that you don't have to go in and then check like, which factory is actually making what. Rather, it is displayed in this nice overview, which is already visible on the main timeline. And this is the biggest thing that is improving the UI here. Instead of this information being 2 layers deep, like go into the engine project, from there navigate to the factories, from there pick the correct factory, open up the factory, navigate to the correct tab, and there you see this information. This is now directly being shown where it matters, in the main setup of the project. This is still not quite complete. You see some missing information here and there. For instance, here these months are all 0. This is hopefully not the case. The future production start here will be in year 2000. That would be bad, being in 1947. Well, we have long-term plans. It's better than a 10-year plan. We have a 53-year plan. So, quick summary so far. We have 2 main new things. New flow for the UI here, which makes it way easier to wrestle with. And secondly, also important, we have no longer the mandate of always producing the latest facelift. You can cross-facelift produce variants as well as trims. But neither of these are the big new things that I want to talk about today. There are 3 main pillars of fleshing out the campaign with a certain new feature. And you might have spotted that already as the headquarters manager. Currently, I have to say that this is very much a work in progress in terms of UI, especially in-game. But I wanted to talk about some of the fundamental considerations that are going on here and what is going to come to campaign. Not all of what I'm talking about is coming to the Rilma version of the campaign, but a significant chunk is and is already implemented. So let's navigate there to the debug UI that we have set up so that we can see what the hell is going on. And now, what are the 3 main things? Let's quickly just summarize them. Company headquarter level. Basically, you go from very small Joe in a shed to extremely large, think Volkswagen or something. Not quite that, not Volkswagen Group, that's too large. That's ridiculous. We don't do such ridiculous things in automation. I mean, we do want to stay realistic after all, right? This is a little too much, sorry. But from very, very small to very large, and that gives you more capacity to do marketing, to do engineering projects, and to have star staff later on in the grand campaign, and all kinds of things that are connected to it, but also some very interesting mechanics like a small company is way more nimble than a behemoth. And that means that you, for a very small company, have quicker engineering and lower engineering costs, for example. But its capacity in doing research and marketing is very limited. So that is something to consider. Also, second big thing will be, fitting to that, headquarter add-ons. Yes, headquarter add-ons that do give you certain bonuses for having a running cost. That I should have said about the headquarters as well. They do all come, even the simplest level, with a running cost, a monthly cost that you have to pay. And if you want to upgrade, you are going to pay the price not only for the upgrade of the buildings, that costs you a chunky sum, but also of the increased maintenance of that headquarters, and I'm not talking about cleaning toilets. Well, okay, that is included, but yes. Keep it clean there in there. That's just disgusting. Okay, but quick summary about the add-ons. Well, they are tied to certain levels of the HQ. So if you are at level 3, for instance, you can then have a wind tunnel, and that add-on, depending on its level, they each come in 3 different tiers. You get various bonuses, and mostly to your aerodynamics research, and that is going to be a flat modifier to it that works a little bit like the country modifier to R&D, so you don't pay for them. Well, you do pay for the wind tunnel, of course. So it gives you a nice bonus in general, but also it increases the body quality a little bit, or rather the tech pool you have for the bodies. And yeah, there's small bonuses like this, and you can level them up to have the effect be larger for a larger cost. But very, very importantly, with these 2 main things for the headquarters, the headquarter level itself, so the headquarters, as well as its add-ons, the headquarter gives you a certain amount of logistics points. And the larger your headquarter is, the more logistics points are going to be available. For instance, here we have an example of, currently I'm at level 2, I have 15 available logistics points. And a medium 1 factory comes at a cost of, currently in the current proposed balance, of 12 logistics points. That means at level 2 you would be not quite able to run that, because then you still don't have an engine. Engine factory, that is. So a medium factory is probably something you're going to need level 3 for, which at least gives you, where do we have the actual logistics here? 20 points. That is enough for a medium 1 and a small 2 or small 3 factory in terms of engines. And this is not a hard cap, but rather you are allowed to go above. And if you do, all kinds of bad things happen. Not events, mind you, but you get some penalties to material costs for your car production, and your tooling is going to be more expensive, things take a little longer, and all kinds of things that are not great, and factory efficiency goes down. Quite mild if you're just slightly over, but if you are really now going with level 2 and you want to build a huge factory or 3 of them, then good night. We're going to take a closer look at the add-ons in a little bit, but first let's conclude with the 3rd pillar of fleshing out the company itself, and that is a skill tree. Yes, you heard that right. There is going to be some role-playing in making your company, and the skill tree is going to be several branches of differently themed sets of perks that you can pick, and they are overall increasing your company efficiency and what it can do, its capabilities, at the cost of nothing, really. It's just development. It costs you opportunity to do something else. The only thing that happens, you can envision it as you every month get 1 point for free. That's it, and you can't buy more. There are no microtransactions to buy more. You get 1 point each month, and that can be invested into perks. And perks come at different costs. They are structured in a skill tree-like fashion, so that you need some perks up first, and then you can unlock later ones. But each perk also comes in 3 levels. So if you just want to progress to another one that is further up the tree, then you can purchase the ones along the way, just level 1, and then really focus on the one that you want. Or you can go broad and just try to get everything. And, well, it is going to be structured such that you can't get everything. Because that is, at least in my opinion, really stupid design. Because then your choices don't really matter. Be assured, that is not going to happen. It will matter a lot. A perk would cost on the order of 1 year worth of points. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at HQ level and what is happening. What you see here is just my spreadsheet for working out some of the dependencies, and none of these are final, but I think they are ballpark right. So let's talk about a few of these aspects as I walk you through them. To the top left, you see the various HQ levels and how long it takes to build each level. The way it's going to work is basically that you are at a certain level, you can choose to upgrade, and that upgrade takes a certain amount of time and money. The money that it takes is spread out over that time. So every month you pay a higher fee, which is the build cost divided by, of course, the months to build. You do see the build costs and running costs up there in mega dollars. So basically the price of a loaf of bread very soon. Yes, that is for the highest level, $8 billion indeed. And for the going from level 1 to level 2, it's just 2 million. But you see the running costs increase massively at the same time, all the way from 50k a month up to 200 million a month. There is one extremely important mechanic here, which is kind of the first main reason this concept is being implemented, and that is that you are supposed to not be able to engineer 500 different models at once. Not very realistic, not even for Volkswagen. So the company size does matter, because you are employing a team of engineers that are going to do engineering work on your cars and engines. And you can not have an infinite amount of them at the same time. That just doesn't work, and no one knows who's doing what, and it's going to be a mess. But if you're a level 1 company, like Joe Schmo in a shed with 6 other people, 6 other people, 6.5 other people. Maybe the half is the toilet cleaner. Joe has problems, bowel movement problems. But yes, so they wouldn't be able to engineer more than 1 car and 1 engine at a time. And they would be severely limited in the amount of logistics they can handle. And also, of course, little Joe in his garden shed is not going to run international marketing campaigns in 27 different countries with 3 different target demographics. But rather, he's at best going to be somehow managing 1. And at the same time, he might be a savant in 1 type of R&D branch, or one of his guys might be. And that's it. And there's definitely no star engineers or star staff going to join him in his conquest, because he's a nobody. But being so small and having a small team comes with huge benefits. Everything is cheap in comparison to running Volkswagen. And everything is a little quicker because you don't have layers and layers and layers and layers of overhead. So, little Joe in his shed only pays half of the engineering costs, and those engineering costs are based on how long it takes, as well as a few other sliders, of course. But those engineering times are a lot quicker. So he pays half of less. So this is quite a big difference. As you scale up your company, you are going to get to the point where it loses those advantages. And if you're really big, you have quite a big penalty on top of it. But what it allows you to do is have lots of models at the same time and lots of engines at the same time, which you see in the E car slots and E engine slots, where E stands for engineering. That is facelifting as well as new models. So entirely new creations. So for example, you could be, if you are a level 4 company, you could be working on one new car model and a facelift of another model at the same time. And the same goes for an engine family and a facelift of another one. You could do 2. You have around 30 logistics points, which can be spent on all kinds of things. And as you see down in the lower left, we have a little list there of how expensive in terms of logistics different size of factories are. And also in the table right next to it, on the right hand side, you see logistic points penalties. That is if you go beyond the soft cap that you have for your logistics and what that means. If the ratio you get from your logistics points is, say, 2, well, you're paying 40% more material costs for your cars, and the build and tool costs for your factories and HQ add-ons and HQ buildings and everything is 40% higher as well. And the factory efficiency goes down by 16%. So you can definitely stomach a little penalty there from going just slightly over, and you might even be inclined to play big. And while you're upping your HQ level, you build a new factory, and you know, like, the logistics, we can't really handle them right now, but we will be able to in the future. So let's eat some penalties right now for a certain amount of time. And we know we're going to get back into higher efficiencies once this is all done and we have the higher HQ level. It does work kind of similar for R&D branches. You also have a soft cap, but if you run over that soft cap of number of branches, and a branch is basically like bottom-end research, or fuel systems, or aerodynamics, or suspension. All those are one branch. You can spend as many levels in that as you like, but as soon as you have a non-zero spend in one of these branches, they count as active, and that is what determines the branch ratio. Your HQ level does give you a certain number of branches that you can have without penalties. Or rather, you see, you even get bonuses for having less, for being more specialized. But yes, without significant penalties, you can have up to those many branches. Level 4 grants you 4 branches. The tech gain and tech decay are interesting factors in there as well. You know that it takes a while for you to gain those tech levels if you are starting to invest into the tech. And the more focused you are, the quicker it goes in this. Like the standard is 36 months of a time it takes to approach that new level. But if you are running less branches than you could, you're more focused and it's a bit quicker. And also, if you stop investing into it, if you are very overburdened, that knowledge that you have accumulated will decay quicker. The decay constant will be making it decay quicker. And if you are running less research branches, then it is going to stay with you because you're kind of keeping tabs on it. You're not fully laden with your research team, so you can keep up to date a little bit of what's going on. Then you see a little section up on top there, star staff slots, and that is something for the more grand campaign. That is when we have star staff, so kind of star engineers that have specific perks that are going to increase, for instance, the quality or certain sections of tech for you. Various bonuses that can be thought of there. And the same goes for marketing, star marketing people and logistics managers. So those will give you benefits, and this is very much not finalized. This is just something to have something there to mention it, that this is going to be part of HQ level as well. And the engineering section all the way to the right we've already talked about. The only thing that remains to be mentioned is that marketing campaigns that you run are going to be a lot more limited as well. They work similar to the R&D, in that if you are, for instance, marketing in Gasmere for drivability, that counts as one campaign. The spend on that campaign, i.e. the level that you set on that campaign, doesn't really matter. But what does matter is how many campaigns you try to run at the same time. So again, one branch is one stat that you market in one region. So you see that with these being quite limited, you see them at, marketing, level 5 company can have 5 marketing slots and a level 10 company can have 15. That is not all that many. It's like 3 campaigns in each region of the light campaign. But that is where, for all of these limitations, the perk tree, or the company skill tree. We do want, in general, to get you more focused in on being very deliberate with your choices. We don't want you to spam like, I just invest into all of the marketing. With all of that said, I think we should take a look at the early draft of what the company HQ add-ons could look like. And for that, I have another spreadsheet for you, but also a little overview of the unlocks. So we do have the supercomputer that basically gives you safety and arrow quality, but mainly the main effect, which is amazing, is that it lowers your engineering time by up to 25% at the highest level for quite the price. And if you see how that fits together with the with the headquarter level, the highest level of the headquarters comes with a hefty penalty for engineering time. 20% penalty on engineering time. But if you have the highest level supercomputer, you can barely make up for that, so it's great. Or a little bit more than make up for it, actually. But you're paying through your nose for it. The wind tunnel starts with a small model scale wind tunnel, and then you get your own open circuit, and then a closed circuit advanced high-tech facility, which you pay a lot for. But that gives you aero and body research. And then we have the testing grounds, your own testing grounds. Or no, not your own testing grounds at tier 1, because that means just hiring testing grounds. And what you get is all kinds of different R&D help for wheels, suspension, brakes, and the drivetrain at the highest tier as well. Materials lab at level 4 unlock. That is expensive, and costs you lots of logistics points, as you see. But it does give you a wide range of bonuses. The design studio is going to be an add-on that takes over functionality from the body text slider, in that it is going to help you unlock bodies early instead of that being R&D. So we're breaking that out to be a bit more reasonable, that it's a design studio doing this instead of research on bodies, tech and panels. But the design studio also, very importantly, does give you some bonuses to interior quality. That is big, of course. So very cool. Doesn't cost you much logistics points, but can get a little expensive too, as you hire more and more designers. The electronics lab, kind of similar to the materials lab, but it has different R&D focus points, and these are all assisting you in pushing your base level of R&D higher. And as a reminder, those bonuses don't count as active branches. So for the electronics lab, you have fuel system, some driving aids, some aspiration quality, and even at the highest end, For the interior, some quality as well. Lobbying department, that's an interesting one. That is super difficult to make balanced, because in reality it's the most overpowered thing imaginable. It's the biggest return on invest that you can imagine. But for gameplay's sake, we're going to nerf it down a little compared to reality. So basically what you get is lower tax rates, effectively, because we are such a poor car company. You pay less foreign duties across border once that is a thing. And you get higher emission credits for being a good boy, and you get less emissions penalties for being a bad boy. Also, you have a back door into the banks and get better rates for your loans. That's also kind of nice. Then we have the Machine and Robotics Lab, which is all focused on factory efficiency. So you get a factory production unit output multiplier, and tooling cost is going down, is multiplied down instead. And as gearboxes tend to be quite robotic indeed, at least the advanced ones, that also gives you a little bit drivetrain quality. And then we have a big one for logistics, a massive one for logistics. This is another one of those that is that you really have to calculate through because it's massive costs, but it can be so worth it. And that is lowering your material costs with vertical integration of your company. Unlocks at level 8. This is only for the big boys. So you have material costs going down up to 30% there in your supply chains. And tooling costs are going down as well as all build costs are decreasing as well. For that to work properly, you have to sell a lot of cars, because you're also selling, you're also paying through your nose to in upkeep for all those companies that you are managing along the side. And you have loads of additional logistics points cost, up to, in this early balance, 40, which at the highest level is kind of a fourth of your entire company. So that's big. Yeah, not recommended for the smaller ones. But I think this HQ level stuff and the add-ons already paint quite a nice picture of what is going to go on. It allows you to specialize your company according to its needs and make the most of it in terms of investment. And this will also very much function as something that makes the early game a little bit easier, because you have the lower engineering costs at the start. You are way more agile as a company. You operate on quicker. You have smaller factories, and you can't have larger factories. And you also have very little running costs. But as you scale up, running costs really increase and ramp up, and you have to think like, can I really afford this? Or if I afford this, how am I scaling up my business more so that it all nets out positive? That means that the mid and end game, which have been a big problem in terms of game balance, will become more interesting and more difficult, because you are going to be on your way up the ladder, and every step along there will cause quite a bit of friction, but also give you opportunity. While currently the campaign is playing a little like, oh yeah, okay, if I get across the initial hurdle, if I have that first and second or first model that is a winner, and a facelift that continues that, and I have enough cash in the bank to get all the way to 2020 without any issues. Well, a little bit of a stick in your spokes or spanner in your gearbox is the emissions, of course. That has been added in the Ellisbury update. But now with the company HQ level and all the running costs associated to it and all the handling of logistics, I think this will be a lot more interesting. Alright, so I have prepared for you to talk about the skill tree. I have prepared for you one example skill tree. It is one out of probably something like 6 to 8 and it's still very much in the early phase and of the design. And what I would like you to do is suggest various perks for companies that kind of modify existing game mechanics, or mostly existing game mechanics. That is the aim of this. Like, what could become, what could get bonuses and so on. Because I will read you all your comments and pick out the best stuff that I see and make that part of the various trees. I already have a huge list of stuff that I want to include or potentially include, and structure them into trees that make sense and categorize them, like this one that you see, this one being for logistics. And then flesh them out as little trees. And these trees, as I mentioned, work such that you can, you're 3 to 4 layers deep, and you can go down the line 2 to 3 steps before you reach the end. And those are costing you points. Now you have to imagine that you get 1 point each month. And what I'm trying to design here is a system that is probably going to max out at 200 years of game time. That means with 74 years of game time that you are nowhere near going to be able to get everything maxed. But what you are going to be able to do is probably get 2 to 3 skill trees pretty much completed or maxed out of the 8 or 6 to 8. Or you're going to be able to pretty much get level 1 in most things. So that you can either be a generalist or really specialized. But what I want to achieve is that your choices really matter, and that every skill pick here does make a noticeable difference. Alright, let's take a look at this company example skill tree for logistics. So you start down there with supply chain optimization, which just gives you, that's the starting point for the tree. It grows from bottom up. Maybe that's going to change and it's going from top to bottom, but remains to be seen, or from left to right, but certainly not from right to left. So what we're starting out with is the supply chain optimization, and you see there at the very first level, or at level 0, it has an effect of 0. Then at level 1, it gets you 10 logistics points on top. You see, that is for just 6 months worth of points. So 6 points gets you 10 extra logistics points. And it's like, oh, but for a small company, that is big. That's like a massive change. That's another small factory. That's pretty huge. Well, no, it's pretty small, but huge in comparison, because that kind of that's 1/3 of your total points. And if you want to continue that, you can get another 10 for just 9 points. Or maybe I can convince you to buy another 10 for just 12 points. Yeah, but that allows you to go down to global logistics, which instead is a multiplier on your logistics points pool that your HQ provides, plus, of course, the effect from the supply chain optimizations. That's a little bit more costly and more something that you would go into as a big company who wants to have lots of add-ons on their HQ or run loads of factories in different regions. Because one thing that I didn't mention, which comes with international production, is that you are going to start out with a penalty multiplier to the logistics points that factories need to run if they are in another region than your headquarters. So if you are located in Frenia as your starting company, or as a starting location, and then you want to build with cheap labor in Ahana, well, that will cost you 1.5 times as much logistics points as it would be in Frenia, because of communications and longer supply chains and so on. But yes, so you can optimize that, and a truly global company running factories everywhere would be getting down to pretty much a factor of 1. Alright, let's take a look at shipping optimization. Shipping things around, exporting cars and engines, shipping them between regions. Like if you produce engines in one region and the cars in another, or if you have one engine factory for 3 different countries of production, well, then you are going to incur shipping costs, and that is significant. We do have now different regions have different shipping costs to other regions, depending on the distance. And that can be up to $750 to ship an engine. Right. That is a lot compared to the engine price. If you're shipping an engine, that is costing you like $800 and you then pay on top of it. That shipping cost, that's not really that efficient. So with this, you can optimize that away to a large extent. And then at the top, you have rapid development on the one side. Just makes building stuff faster, but not just factories, but everything. Factories, factory add-ons, the HQ stuff, the add-ons of the HQ, and tooling as well. It's like it improves everything. That is pretty big. And you start off slower with, if you have 0 levels in it, 20% penalty. At level 1, you get down to 1, so 20% increased speed. I want this to be, like I said, every skill point should make a difference. And I think this definitely achieves that. This might be completely overpowered. We are going to see that is something that has to be worked out in testing. But you see where this roughly is going with this. This, of course, just a draft. On the other side, we have just in time, the Toyota kind of mainstay philosophy thing, which is being adopted by pretty much everyone who wants to run efficiently. As you see there, and this is going to has a nice side effect, we are going to start out with a multiplier of 0.7 for your factory efficiencies. That means you're going to output less cars and engines. That is something that in the early days is not only reasonable, but also probably going to help you because you most often run into overproduction at the start. I don't think that's realistic. I think that back in the day, production just wasn't that efficient because you had lots of troubles with supply chains and you were not quite as efficient, and factory floor organization and all that stuff, the supply lines. Yes, they have made huge advances before the game starts, but that has increased a lot with the likes of Toyota. And I think that is really something that is interesting for large-scale manufacturers, but not that important to smaller ones, because they tend to run on larger margins per car. So the little inefficiencies here and there don't really matter that much, but if you're cranking out 100,000 cars a month, then holy yes, that is going to be important, because this makes the difference between completely being able to flood the market or not quite. So, I think this example skill tree, and to reiterate, this is just one out of many, this would give your company a lot more flavor. And this is really where we want to be going with this campaign in its design. That your company should feel like your own, not just like any company. And that is on top of what we have talked about prior, not in this little dev update, that competitors need to be much more fleshed out. And that brings me to what competitors are supposed to be doing with this. That is not determined yet, but as you see, that would allow us to make competitors also have much more character. That you know, like, oh, this is the kind of Toyota style company that is like operating super efficient. And this is all going to make a massive difference to how you would play the game and how other companies would feel as soon as you actually can see them, because right now it's all mostly a black box. Or is it, Gerob? Let's head over to the campaign screen again, because as you see, we have some more buttons down here, and one of them is the sales breakdown. It's probably something that many of you have never really known is there, but yeah, if you have watched my little dev updates or even let's plays of various YouTubers playing campaign in Ellisbury, you have seen this breakdown that was well hidden. And what we wanted to do here is basically tell you what's happening with your cars, where they're going, what the other companies are. They currently have shitty names that help us debug stuff. So pretty much you see what's going on there. Generalist 6. 6 is the size of the company and where it's located. So it's basically debug names. Family cars. It's doing everything from city to sports, family sports, and some family utility, but stays mostly around the family segment. Maybe a premium in there somewhere. But yeah, these names tell you what they do really well, but they are not great for flavor. This is excellent for game development, not excellent for your immersion. So of course that is going to change eventually. But yeah, you see that lots is going on here, and I think you have gotten a pretty good overview of some of what is coming. I should also mention that what we are planning on having in our Rilma is the company HQ as well as company HQ add-ons, but not the Skilltree yet. That is something that will come with the Terso update, I think, because that's quite a chunky bit of work. But yes, I think we are done here. That is a nice outlook, I believe, of what is coming. And this first version of the campaign released to the Rilma Open Alpha is going to include these add-ons, or rather the HQ level and its add-ons. Alright, I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you guys next time.